Welcome to the April 2025 Water Resources Outlook. This last month, we saw near normal rainfall with some above normal in Alabama and Georgia. Air temperatures heated up and then cooled down a bit. Adam and I are here to tell you about where we are right now and what we expect to come for the region. In the last 30 days, the salt front that brought significant rainfall and flooding to the Mid-South and Ohio Valley regions was the main contributor to rainfall in the Southeast. The rain in the Southeast occurred between April 5th and April 7th and brought widespread 3 to 4 inch rainfall totals and isolated 10-inch totals in locations around Alabama's Mobile Bay. The front did linger for a bit in central Alabama and western Georgia, allowing moisture to be picked up from the Gulf and bring above normal rainfall amounts to these areas. Elsewhere, near normal to slightly below normal rainfall was observed. Aside from areas near Mobile, Alabama, coastal rainfall deficits were in the 2 to 3 inch range. Across Florida, widespread deficits of around 2 to 3 inches were also observed. Year to date, we are near normal to below normal in rainfall accumulations, meaning that although the rain events have been sporadic and ranging from heavy to light, they have been beneficial to water resources in the Southeast. Even in Florida, where we have not yet reached the wet season, the year-to-date deficit remains similar to the rest of the Southeast. The rainfall near normal and deficits during the winter recharge were due to the weak La Niña that was ongoing. Models predicted that daily deficits would occur in the December, January, and February timeframe, and that held to be true. Recent reanalysis of the season's rainfall showed that daily we were 1 to 2 millimeters below normal. Stick with us throughout the latter portions of this outlook to hear updates on the southern oscillation and effects we expect going forward through the summer. Drought over the last month has again remained the same, improved, or degraded depending on your location. For some good news, the total area that is not experiencing drought in the Southeast increased from about 34% to 50%. For those in Alabama, you may be glad to hear that all drought has been terminated. In Florida, where the dry season continues for another month, extreme drought has developed south of Lake Okeechobee. Majority of the areas still experiencing drought have been consistent over the last month. The week of cooler than normal temperatures and rainfall contributed to helping the system maintain soil moisture and stream flows. Improvements across Alabama and Georgia can be attributed to the above normal 30-day rainfall. And as we get closer to the rainfall season for Florida, I suspect we will start to see improvements. We're now in a quieter time for river flooding as we have exited our typical winter and spring recharge months. This being said, we are still seeing river flooding from the early April rainfall that is making its way to the coast. At the peak of this event, we did observe one major flood on the Styx River in South Alabama and a few moderate floods in isolated areas. Minor and bankful rises were the most widespread, though. Taking a snapshot look at the 7-day runoff for Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, we have maintained normal runoff since late February or the mid-March period. This again highlights the benefits of the weekly to biweekly rainfall that we have observed. Jumping to Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, the 7-day average runoff has continued to have periods of dipping close to or in the below normal percentages. As we saw in the year-to-date departure from normal rainfall, South Carolina and the headwater regions of North Carolina have the most widespread deficits of the Southeast. Adam will discuss our upcoming weather pattern and let us know if we can continue to see streams holding near normal as we move through the spring.
Currently, the Southeast weather is being dominated by high pressure. This high pressure, centered over the Big Bend of Florida, is bringing dry conditions and warm temperatures to the area. Tomorrow, the high pressure will slide off to the northeast, but the warm and dry conditions will persist over the southeast. Saturday sees the high pressure moving further northeast. The dry conditions remain ahead of a low pressure system moving over central Texas. By Sunday, the low pressure system has moved over Oklahoma before making its way to the southeast. As it does, it will bring a chance for light rain to Mississippi and Alabama. On Monday, the low has shifted south to the Gulf before making its way across the southeast. This should bring light rain to much of the southeast except the peninsula of Florida. Tuesday sees the low pressure having moved north with a cold front extending down to the Gulf. Again, light rain is possible for much of the southeast except for the peninsula of Florida. By Wednesday, the cold front has become stationary across the southeast. Rainfall amounts of up to a half inch are possible along the Alabama-Mississippi border, with lighter amounts possible over the rest of the southeast. The 7-day precip forecast shows that Mississippi and Alabama are expected to get the bulk of the southeast's rain over the next week, with amounts of 1/2 to 1 inch possible there, while the rest of the southeast is expected to receive less than a half inch. The latest CPC outlook calls for slightly above rainfall amounts in the 8 to 14-day window.
Thanks, Adam, for covering the rest of April. Before we jump into May, I have some exciting news to share. The La Niña has officially ended, meaning that surface ocean temperatures in the equatorial Pacific are near normal and the southern oscillation is not the significant driver of global weather patterns. So now we can get into our rainfall predictions for the month of May. Rainfall probabilities in coastal areas of South Carolina and Georgia, as well as the entire state of Florida, are leaning below normal, while our Virginia drainage basins and the upper Tombigbee Basin have probabilities leaning above normal. The areas between these, accounting for the majority of the southeast, has equal chances for above or below normal precipitation. As we just discussed, neutral ENSO is being observed and is expected to persist through the spring. Forecasts made in the spring are known to be less successful than forecasts made in the rest of the year due to the transition that is typically happening, and that's either from El Nino to neutral or La Nina to neutral. So, as we get further into the spring, we expect the July and later predictability to increase as things become less transitional. But for now, models are favoring either neutral or La Nina in our future. Our seasonal outlook for June, July, and August timeframe favors probabilities of above normal rainfall for the entire Atlantic seaboard. Further from the coast, probabilities are not leaning either way, meaning that northern Georgia and Alabama have equal chances of being above or below normal rainfall. Skipping forward to the September through November timeframe, the chance of above normal rainfall is not as widespread across the eastern U.S. coast. Current probabilities across many of our headwater areas indicate equal chances for above or below normal rainfall, so we will just have to keep an eye on long-term streamflow runoff until then. So, the bottom line. In the short term, we are likely to see rain events, but where frontal systems line up could continue to mean the difference between drought relief or drought expansion. In Florida, we could possibly see more expansion until we reach their wet season and the tropical season. In the long term, neutral ENSO conditions will persist through the spring. Late spring and summer outlooks allude to normal to above normal rainfall amounts for the southeast. Be sure to look out for our next Water Resources Outlook on May 15th to hear about how rainfall, drought, and our long-term outlooks are progressing.